Hey guys! Ooh, excuse me. Had something stuck in my throat there for a minute. Let's try that again. Hey guys! Dante here, and welcome back to my channel, The Burgers Art, and welcome back to another Sunday night art stream. Excuse me for a sec while I adjust some audio for myself. There we go. I think that's right. So, let's see. Moving stuff out the way. Got too much junk all over the place that you guys cannot see, but it is in the way of me being productive. There we go. Much better. Alright, I think that's much better. I can see the chat now. Alright, so. Hello everyone. Dante here, and today, as the title suggests, we are going to be making Ghost. Or to be more precise, we're going to be sculpting arms and legs to go hand in hand with a ghost concept I'm working on. A spooky boy. A spooky boy. So last week, I'm just going to say it was a big bust. I wasn't feeling well, and the art stream was suffering because of it. I actually do plan to return to that particular piece of artwork at a later date, but I figured right now we work on something a bit higher up on the tier list of what has to be done. So let's roll back a little bit and talk about this. Let me see if it's in camera shot. Come on, focus. There we go. So, this is tonic. I've shown bits of this in probably on my social media. It is a fake tonic bottle. It's made out of plastic. I diced up a bunch of pre-existing plastic bottles and glued them in the general squarish kind of shape of these old-timey tonic bottles. There's also issues with the seams, but these are going to be addressed as we go forward. So this is tonic. Right, made the bottle out of plastic. It's hollow. It's a fake bottle. In fact, once I pull this squeaky cork out, like this neck is glued on top. There is no actual hole going in, so the whole thing's fake. The whole thing's fake, right? I made the wrapping around it just with some quick Clip Studio brushes of like leaves and vines, and then I put some font on it. Fun fact, these measurements are for my actual like old time tonic bottle apparently, which is kind of interesting. Then I just wrote some crazy text in the bottom. So tonic, working title for the meantime, tonic is a character. It is a ghost trapped in a bottle. And the back end where the bottle is all ripped up, there he is. That is tonic. His face is squished up against the bottle. This is made with soft Crayola clay that I then painted to even give it a more squished look. The eyes glow in the dark. There's sadly a little white blemish here from paint that sunk in. I put paint in there and it kind of fed through, but we'll fix that. So essentially, tonic is a bottle. Tonic is a character. He is a rambunctious ghost who bounces around inside this bottle trying to get out. And we're going to add a bunch of slime and gook coming from the bottle top, which is going to help also cover the seams and cover up this really annoying piece of white piece here. I just hate that. That's crazy glue on a perfectly clear piece of plastic. So it's going to be goo coming down. And as the goo feeds out, it allows him to grow arms and legs, which is what we have here. So we're going to basically... final thing is going to be him with legs in the bottom, sticking out the bottom of the bottle, and some long funny hands as well. And that is the final shape of the character. Smaller details will come later. So what we have here right now is basic wireframe. I posed the legs, gave it the old-timey Ninja Turtle pose, 1 foot flat, 1 foot bending. And this was made just out of Crayola craft foam. It air dries. You wrap it around, it air dries. It takes like a day or two to really dry to the point in which I feel I could use it. I did the same thing with the hands, but just with a different color. And we are now going to sculpt over these with my handy dandy go-to epoxy sculpt. And eventually these will all be attached to the bottle. And the whole thing will be mounted on this. This is an actual piece of wood, by the way. This is an actual piece of wood. I got it for my job. Shh, don't tell no one. Someone cut this short for me because it was like a much larger log. And yeah, he's going to be mounted on this because he's right now, this is insulation foam, and the wire actually goes into the foam. So he's going to be mounted and glued right on. And he's going to be a presentation piece for a story concept. One of many story concepts. One of too many story concepts I have that I'm working with my good friend Critorius Rex, who I think just jumped into the chat. Hey dude, thank you. And yeah, so we're just gonna go ahead and start sculpting. And in other news, I got a garbage spoon, which means I went to a 99-cent store that had a big rack of just cheap spoons. It's a pretty sturdy freaking spoon for a cheap little 99-cent spoon. But I have a spoon now. We can now actually dig the clay out of this without bending all my sculpting tools. So let's do that. Let's get our clay ready. We got our water. You can't see it, but on the side I have all my tools. And yeah, let's get to it. There we go. Look at that. Look at that. Oh, so much better. As always, we're going to do small little bolitas. Small spheres of fear of clay. Each of slightly different sizes. Because you do not want to mix too much at once. You have about a 20-minute working time on this before it starts to fight you. And yeah, it's good. It's good not to overmix. I mean, yeah, it's not. It's gonna to overmix too much material. So this, before I finally decided just to straight up just sculpt it, I went through several ideas. I was thinking maybe I should use Sculpey, which has never worked for me. I've never been good with Sculpey. And this right here is translucent Sculpey with a little bit of green dye. Translucent Sculpey is garbage. That is my opinion. Unless you're doing a thin, like window, kind of thin glass piece of Sculpey, translucent Sculpey just isn't. It's not like resin. It's not like a clear resin. Another part of me was thinking we would sculpt this and then cast it in resin. In fact, I have the start of the original sculpt in clay. But then I realized it just would have been way too much to try and get a mold that I would have been happy with. Plus resin, clear resin is also a little tricky. I haven't really used it as much. And if you add just a pinch too much dye, it then just, you lose the translucency. So in the end, yeah, we're just gonna sculpt it in non-translucent, paint it green, and then we'll add some flair with the liquid ghostly ectoplasm that then leaks around the bottle. The idea is that the bottle, it will leak from the bottle down the side, down the seams to hide the fine details, and it will come down to the side, and from that leaking, it sprouts out the arms and legs. Now, I'm thinking I want to actually paint all of that goo in glow-in-the-dark, off-white, which glow in the dark will make it cool, even though not everyone was going to see it. B, it's a nice slimy material. However, it is a bit of an odd color. it's a whitish goo, and as Joe would say, a cigar is just a cigar. But then again, not everyone will see a cigar. Just a bottle covered in weird, non-descriptive white goo is kind of odd. Then again, maybe I'm just a filthy boy with a filthy mind. Alright, so let's see. No. Yeah, the main thing is, you don't. It's not like I have to get perfectly 1-to-1 with the measurements. Just close enough. Just close enough to where they kind of match. Yeah, that's good. Okay. Then we got the big boy. Now, funny thing is, with the way I did this simple brown clay, I kind of want to keep that shape. I kind of want to keep that wrinkly shape. Kind of have it like wrinkled downwards. So we work at the base, and then like have it overlap that, then have it overlap that. Well, I do kind of like this weird, like, he's not gonna have perfect anatomy. It's like slime trying to take shape of like humanoid legs. This freaking, as always, because this white portion of it is much more, I guess you could say, liquidy. It just clings to the plastic bag whenever I try to get a good chunk of it out. And I figured, because this idea is in my head, it's like at the front of my mind right now. This bottled spirit working title is like right there in the front of my mind. I figure I need to get it done. I need to sculpt it, get it done, and move on to other projects. All right. Let's start with the feet. Let's start with at least one leg. Gotta work it. Work it, girl. Do your thing. Meanwhile, Joseph Tesserman, also known as Clitorius Rex, over on Instagram, is doing some really cool sculpting work. He's been sending me photographs of an old head he's been working on. It's an old sculpted head. Original idea was vampire. He's been taking in all these cool directions. I say it looks more like a demon. In general, it just looks really cool. And he has delved back into it. So hopefully, he'll be putting some images of that on Instagram. Maybe. Wink, wink. Either way, I'm sure once he's done, he'll definitely show it off. It's an old sculpt that's been sitting on his table from years ago, and now that he has room to work on it, he's just pulled it out of retirement. So yeah, dude, keep going with that, man, and be sure to show us meaning the general public of the internet, when you're done with that. Where's that paper? I had some paper. There we go. Okay. And away we go. Now, one of the reasons why you really want this air dry clay, this Crayola clay, you want to give it time to fully dry, is because I noticed it actually does take to water quite well, more well than I expected. Like I was trying to mold it into the shape you see here, and wouldn't you know it, a little bit of water went a long way to like blending in the seams. So this guy's gonna have kind of jester kind of feet, a little pointed toes. And as always, we can always sand certain pieces down. But the closer we get to what we want in this stage, the less sanding and correction we have to do later on. Just trying to get that arch in the foot. So going to work on one leg, like really stabilize it, and then we'll keep going from there. So for today, no background music. That noise you're hearing, I don't know how well it comes across on the mic because it's kind of further away. It's the sound of the ocean. It's like tropical rainforest sound effects. So that's what I'm talking about. I want to get like work the bottom, layer it on top, kind of have this overlap, kind of like slime that's like overlapping itself over and over again. I also do not want to bulk up the legs too much. That's something I'm trying to avoid. I want to stay relatively thin against the sculpting we already have, because I kind of like the way the proportions on this are. Not sure we're going to be able to keep that. You know, trying to do really thin layers while also having enough material to sculpt. You know what I mean? Kind of a tricky situation. Pixie feet. Yep, that's right. Kind of a pixie feet thing going on here. So like here, I'm really losing how thin it is. It's kind of like a bulkiness to it. And it kind of, I mean, that makes sense in terms of like the fact that he's slime, so he would be bulky. Like as it goes down, gravity pulls it. But I do want to have some aspect of like thinness. Like he's, you know, he's scrawny. Like, he's meant to be like a weak little ghost trying to escape this bottle. So I'm trying to like keep some level of like this, like skinny like this. There we go. A little better. I'm going to curve the feet upward. And then once again, we can always just sculpt out some of, you know, the slime pattern. Once again, the overlay. Yeah, he might come out a little bulkier than I really aiming for, but you know, you can always go back, sand. That's why I like the epoxy. You could go back, really sand it down to the point where you could get rid of a good chunk of it and then resculpt it. I'm trying to avoid that. I'm trying to like get as much done at this stage, but you know, we'll see what we got. Just gonna turn a small fan on behind me, because I'm surrounded by lights right now. Need some white paper. That is not the white paper I'm looking for. There we go. It's time to get a new standing fan. It takes a while for this fan to like rev up and actually, you know, give me what I need. There we go. This part of the leg is just super thin, so we're gonna try and go super thin. Get there's one piece to wrap around this whole part of the leg, nice and thin, as thin as we can. Because if he has bulbous feet but like thin hips, like thin upper legs, I'm kind of okay with that too. Once again, the weight is being pulled downward. If it's like you gotta check out like the production notes for the movie Lilo and Stitch. The man who basically designed like the look of that movie, I forget his name. I'm sure someone out there will tell me exactly who it is. But the man who basically created the look of Lilo and Stitch, the movie. He's known for doing everything really rounded and like it's all fictional characters. Like you still need to know anatomy, of course. But all his characters have like a certain weight to them, the way their hands are, the way their feet are. The women have this fantasy kind of curve to their body. It's more about like the general shape as opposed to the actual anatomy. It's really, really interesting. Like if you look at some of the production sketches of like, he shows a perfectly square camera and he says, do not draw it like this. Make the camera inflated, make it rounded, make it soft, almost like candy. Like those are the notes he would give the artist. Or rather the animators. That was a bit too high. I always find it interesting, more with clay, not so much this epoxy clay. But I always find it really cool and interesting when you see someone sculpting a monster head for a movie, and then you just take like a tool like this, something that has like little teeth on it, and just cover the entire thing with striations. It's how they give texture to like these creatures. It's usually just tons of like scratch marks, but it also helps because it allows for later edits for new clay to like stick onto it, adding already all that texture. Okay, so we're going to take this kind of long noodly layer and then smooth it upward. It's kind of what I did for my figurine of Joe Cat's character, Joe Crap, where to indicate a seam, I would do a noodle like this and then smooth it up the arm. So the seam is the end of the sleeve, but the rest of the arm is like skin tight, like superhero costumes or whatever. pinch off the excess. For anyone interested in checking out that video, go check out my YouTube page. Where I do, it's called the toy chest. That's the overall folder. That's the playlist. It's where I show off like figurines that I'm working on, figurines that I've done in the past, etc., etc. If you're looking for like just cool customized stuff, I say cool. I think I did a pretty good job. You could correct me if I'm wrong. He's kind of, I keep tugging on him and he's coming out from the base. Need to make sure he stays in there. Where is a nice carving tool? What's a nice carving tool? Something rounded like this. There you go. I want to keep the line I did around the kneecap. Once again, I can also use a Dremel later on to really hold on to some of these like wrinkles. There is some, what is that, crazy glue? Get out of here. It looks kind of like it's armor because I'm doing layers, but I think it works for now. Okay, let's mix up the last batch I have right here. You know what? We're gonna leave this last because I also want to have an overlap from the hip. Let's add a little bit more to this leg over here. So it worked from the base up. We're gonna work from the base up as well. Once again, doing some just some like almost like hair texture, if you would. Not fine hair texture, more like the hair texture you see on a figurine, where it's just like the hint of like, I guess, think of like CGI hair. There's two types of CGI hair. There's like super detailed hair, and then there's general shape hair. This is general shape. Some people I think refer to it as Play-Doh hair, when it's like just a shape. Like if you were to think of Helen Parr from The Incredibles, you could think of all the fine details, and then you could also just think. You could also just think of the general like almost curved like Princess Peach hair, just like curved shape, but it has a few details in it. Later on, as it got more advanced, they add actual, you know, hair strands. Think of the new Sonic the Hedgehog trailers. Like, you know, Sonic's quills, and you know Knuckles' like dreadlocks, I don't know what they're called, are just a general shape, like just tubes, and then they add smaller needle textures on top of that to really give it a slightly more realistic look, even though they're like bright red and bright blue. But that's what it is. Gotta go fast. Um, I was looking at as I'm looking at the my secondary device over here. Um, so I have a Picardo account, Picardo. I don't know, Captain Picardo card, Captain Picardo. But I have a Picardo account, which is the basic account, which is why anything that streams there doesn't get saved. But I also should really go into the profile page and like really customize it. Put my logo up. Put like contact details. Just like make it a presentable page. There's just so many different websites have to be attached to. I saw this great post on Twitter, and it said big companies. They said big companies. You have the guy who handles the merchandise, the guy who handles general advertising, the guy who handles the social medias, the group that handles social medias, and then the actual production group who makes the whatever you're making. But when you're an artist, an independent artist, you have to be all of that. You have to update all your social medias. You have to, find the best company to make the plushies of your characters. I just came, as I mentioned, on my Twitter account and on my Instagram account, I went to Scribbleoff in Brooklyn, and I was just thinking about and I saw a little kid with an Ori plushie. Ori is the little bird from Jaden Animations channel. Ori is her pet and kind of her pseudo mascot. But like she had to I don't know if she had to basically contact a company to make the plushies, and then I think she had to maybe design them herself. And now she has a team of people who help her on her channel. But still, like when you're an independent artist, until you make enough money where you can actually pay other artists to help you, you're on your own with this stuff. Alright, so this is weird. Has to be underneath. So, come on. Stick. There we go. Now that I think about it, when I yank this guy off, this brown clay is going to be the base of the foot, and I don't feel good about that. I might have to actually add a thin layer of epoxy clay beneath it before I then mount it onto the wooden platform. Let's see. Gotta get it from this side. As I sculpt, I always remember, you see people sculpting like in tutorial videos or like, you know, for big companies or whatever. Meaning like, you know, special effect companies. They always wear gloves. I don't wear gloves, and thus I get fingerprints over everything. Even some of the scopes I'm really happy with. If you look close, some of the texture is literally just me squishing my fingerprints around, trying to hide the fact that they're fingerprints. Let me get the bottom. Let me get the bottom of the heel right here. Then we'll start mixing up some more clay. Okay. Alright, we're doing good so far. Kind of more like a boot than anything else, but once again, we could Dremel, we could sand, but I do want to get some of this texture like that. I want to get the ripples. I want to get the ripples and like just spaces where the clay isn't blending well together. I'll just lean into it, like right here. This piece here and this piece here were two different pieces. So I'm just gonna lean into it and just do a bunch of just wrinkly details. Right, here's another one. Let the water run off because too much water and then you can't freaking sculpt this anymore. Alright, back to the bucket. Come on. I need to straighten my back out a bit. Oof. Oh, Clitorius Rex, question for you. So I don't know how old or new the game is. I'm guessing it has to be new. There's like a fighting game for Power Rangers, but it seems to follow like one of the more recent comics, the one where like the White Ranger and Green Ranger fuse into like one particular Ranger, and it's like he's moving from universe to universe, like destroying and killing tons of people. There's apparently a fighting game. I just saw like the advertisement for that. Not advertising. I saw someone playing it. And one of the things that caught me was like, so the Black Ranger is like foot soldiers, like the Black Rangers, because everyone was like, oh, you gave the black guy a gun. The Black Ranger straight up is like a SWAT team guy. Like he's bulky with a bulletproof vest and carries like a rifle. And it looks like it's a fighting game that has storyline elements to it. Have you seen this? Because it looks pretty damn cool. And just like the comic, this is once again like the American style Power Rangers. It's not the Japanese Sentai. Like this is a love, just like the comic was like a love letter to like all the American variations of the Sentai show. The video game seems to be like that too. I think the clip I caught was the guy playing as the Pink Ranger, and I think that I don't know if he said it or he read it, but during the stream he says too much pink energy is dangerous, but I think that was an actual line in the game in reference to like the original show. Yeah, because I've never been a huge Power Ranger fan. Even when it was out, I wasn't like huge into it. It wasn't really my thing. I know, shock of all shocks. But when I saw like what the comic books were doing with like following the Pink Ranger from the original series, like they were all like pretty cool love letters to like the old series and stuff. I have to give them credit for that. Alright, so just mixing. So, I'm liking it so far. Like I said, a little more bulky around the foot. But if I can keep the legs thin, give him that spindly leg and big fat feet. And it also works for stability as well. And I'll just keep adding more and more wrinkles in it. Wrinkles that we could sand down and Dremel later on, even more if we had to. And then we'll give the whole thing a prime. And it will be painted green like the actual ghost in the jar itself. I might overall do a lighter shade of green, because when he's in the bottle, he's meant to look darker, except when he's pressed against the glass. But overall, if I could give like the entire body a lighter color, and I'll just do the whole thing in acrylic. I think I would do it in acrylic, because that's why I did the face with. So I could use airbrush, but I don't know. We'll see. I'm thinking I'll stick with the acrylic to make sure I stick with the same tone of color, the same shade of green. All right, give me a second. I'm just gonna do a little check. Picardo, there we go. Picardo TV. Well, actually, it's pronounced Picato. Thank you very much. Whatever. I'm just checking my account because once again, the Picardo website does not interact with the chat. What am I looking at? Channel. There we go. I doubt like anyone is even watching on there. I could be wrong. Oh, snap. Someone actually is commenting. Hello. Sorry about that. Yeah, sorry. I use Restream. And Restream doesn't carry the chat from Ricardo. Who is this? Wuzo Jinka. No. I can't read it from a distance. Sorry. Wuzo Janek. Hello, Wuzo. Sorry, no drawing for today. Today is just sculpting. But thank you for joining the chat. I think you are the first person to actually put something in chat on my Picardo website. Thank you so much, Wuzo. I hope I'm saying that right. Wuzo Janak. Jinak. Okay. Let's get this heal. Let's get the heal done. Do 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 do. I don't know why. I get that stuck in my head a lot lately. Putting on the Ritz. Funny thing about that song, my only context for it is, in fact, Young Frankenstein. Ooh, almost knocked over my microphone. That would have sucked. If you haven't seen Young Frankenstein, Mel Brooks, what are you waiting for? It's one of the greats. I actually saw a DVD collection. It was like Mel Brooks's greats, and it was like Young Frankenstein, Blazing Saddles, Spaceballs, of course. And like one or two other ones I'm really not familiar with. But the main thing is they're meant to be the movies that he, I believe, wrote/directed. Not necessarily that he was just in them. Because there's a movie called Life Stinks, which is also very funny, and he's in it, but I don't know if he wrote it, and it wasn't part of the collection. It wasn't in the big like DVD set. So I don't know about that one, but it's also a funny movie. Life Stinks. Essentially, it's what happens when it's kind of like the movie Trading Places, where some rich guys make a bet, you know, to the chagrin of the people that they are in charge of, and essentially, one slumlord tells Mel Brooks, if you can survive in your own slums, like the slums that you have created, this neighborhood that you have created, with no money, like no help, like you're working from scratch, no one even knows who you are a homeless man in your own slums. He's like, I'll award you something amount of money, and you get also my property, something like that. Like it's basically like a whole scheme to like, you know, win each other's money. And the movie's just Mel Brooks as a homeless guy, just trying to freaking survive in the slums, in the world he has created. It's like a story, you know. It is typical Mel Brooks. It's Mel Brooks, I guess you could say, punching upward. Mel Brooks never punched downward. He never made fun of the downtrodden. He always made the evil people look like buffoons. And in this case, it is the 1%. It is just all the rich people who make money off of the slums and like the stuff that happens. But of course, as he gets closer to the deadline, you know, the guy who made the bet with him is like panicking and starts doing things and sending in thugs to scare him because he has to stay in the slums. So there's this great scene where like he has like a leg tracker, and these two thugs who are hired to beat him up, but they don't know why exactly, they're just hired, are beating the hell out of him and saying, "Get off our block." And he gets off the block, and then the leg tracker, the little ankle bracelet, starts to beep, and he jumps back on the block. And they're like, "You think you're being funny?" And they beat him up again. They throw him into a garbage can. He jumps back on the street, and it's this whole back and forth to the point where he's just like on the floor, a broken, beaten wreck, and he does the worm, like he kind of worms his way back and puts one foot on the sidewalk just to keep the ankle bracelet there. And it's just it's a really funny movie. But yeah, it wasn't in the collection, so I don't know if he like was just in it or produced it. I don't know if he actually wrote it or something like that. But it's still a funny film. Life Stinks. That's a good Mel Brooks film as well, or at least it's a good movie that stars the great Mel Brooks. All right, switching back over. Restream. Mel Brooks was a chameleon. He was also, let me see. He also helped produce David Cronenberg's The Fly and David Lynch's Elephant Man. I heard about that. Not the Elephant Man one, but I heard about him like helping to produce The Fly. I'm not sure like what the story is behind that, but when I heard it, I was like, that's pretty damn cool. Yeah, The Fly is another film. It's a tragic film. Like, the main character isn't a villain. He just he literally devolves into one. He is not like a mad scientist. He goes mad because of the experiment. He's like a generally good guy, and he's quirky. He's played great by Jeff Goldblum. He's like a nice guy that's really quirky. But because of his like general isolation, he doesn't ask for help when things go wrong. I've gone on record saying I'm kind of depressed at that freaking yeah, I just said his name. I just said his name. From The Fly. The fact that he's like doing apartments.com commercials. I'm like, come on, man, you're better than this. I know they're paying you, but you're better than this, man. You were freaking in a Marvel movie for crying out loud. Now here's a funny thing I just realized. So yeah, so I just, as I said, I just checked my Picardo. Because it's not part of Restreams. I have to change hit the camera. I have to change tabs on my tablet in order to see if anyone's talking on Picardo. I don't know if anyone can, I don't know, can you reply live on Twitch? Because I'm broadcasting to Twitch. I don't know if you could reply live, or how you even notice, how would I as a streamer notice someone is in Twitch? Let me see. It's not a remake. I don't care what anybody says. The Flies. No, it's not. How do I put this? It is this weird thing. I personally have this thing where like, if it started as a film, if the product was a film and nothing else, and then years later another film comes out, that's a remake. You are remaking the film. The Fly was a story, I think, right? It was a short story, then it was a black and white film. I could be wrong. But what I see it as is this. I see it like this. The movie The Thing was a short story. So after The Thing, there were two films. There was the old black and white one and the 80s one. They're not remakes of each other. They're basically interpretations of that story. They're based on that story. You know, it's like a remake of like The Thing would be if you rewrote the book itself. Now, The Fly, I can't remember if it was a short story and then a film. Now, with that being said, if it was always a film, technically, yes, it is a remake. But it is perhaps the most, among the greatest, like, remakes and reimagining. Remember that word? Remember the word reimagining? It is the greatest reimagining of an old story. Let me put it that way. Okay, so let's use this last bit, get the dye, and then I'll come back. Because this is a little wet and it's like sloshing around. So I'm going to do the thigh first, then we'll do the little loop like I did before on this side. Oh, sorry, for the, more for the kneecap. Let's get the thigh first, and then we'll do more details on this piece right here. Because this is like, it's so wet it's like sloshing around. You can see this one's already thicker than this one. So I'm gonna build this up in a bit. All right. Once again, want to keep the hip area. Well, the thigh is the thigh. The hip is up. The hip is higher up, of course. I want to keep the thigh nice and thin. Yeah, nice and thin. There we go. Doing good here. We're doing good with these legs. It is 9:08, so we're just about an hour in, and I think the legs are coming out very well. Like I said, like by the time we're done with this leg, it's gonna be, you know, almost, it's gonna be over an hour or so since we did this leg. So this leg's getting hard enough where I can start like really sculpting into it. Because like I said, you technically have like a 20-minute work time. That's if you're not adding tons of water like I am. I'm adding a lot of water to like make it work. But if you were to mix it and just sit it on the table, it's a 20-minute thing. Let me see. J Marvel Man. By the way, Joseph Tesserman, aka J Marvel Man, aka Katorius Rex on Instagram. He is a well of knowledge when it comes to like classic films, which is why his artwork just has a great approach to like creature design. I will blow smoke up this man's ass until the day I die. Let me see, Joseph, what are you telling us? It was a short story by Kate Mansfield in 1922 in the Posh magazine back in the day. There you go. So it's not a remake. It is an interpretation of that story. It is it's not a remake or even a reimagining. It is a someone's take on that story. It is its own thing, and it's kind of like straight to the point. There's not much that really happens in the film aside from even the short story. Not much happens. It's man creates machine. In the terms of the film, the newer film, the 80s film, he rushes the experiment in a fit of drunken jealousy. He rushes it, but before the time he realizes he screwed up, it's too late. What is your opinion on the sequel? I think the sequel does also a pretty good job of horror effects or costume effects, and the story is also kind of interesting. It's, you know, it's much like in the first film. It's about someone who's genuinely innocent, but just can't escape the fact that he's like destined to become quote unquote this monster. But it has an obviously different ending. No spoilers in case you guys haven't seen it. But I kind of like the second film. I do like it. You know, I'm a sucker for a happier ending, even though it is still a bit macabre. But you know, the whole idea of both films is like the man becomes a monster on the outside, but does he become a monster on the inside? The first film, you see that happen. The second film, you don't know until the very end. What's that great line from The Bells of Notre Dame? What makes a monster and what makes a man? I love that. Okay. By the way, yes, he has a little butt crack. He has a ghostly butt crack. Ooh. All right. We're looking good. Look at that. We are looking good. So I'm going to just do the little edge here, exaggerate it like I did here. I am going to bulk up the calf first, because why not? We did 1 foot kind of bulky. Why not do the other foot kind of bulky? Even the things who goes there ripping off H.P. Lovecraft's In the Mountain of Madness. I need to read some H.P. Lovecraft. Like, I've seen plenty of movies about him, all the different interpretations of the films, but I need to actually read one of those two. Yeah, the man was not perfect. He had racially insensitive undertones. He has socially insensitive undertones. Like, even if you were white but underclass, like, you were always the villain in his stories. Or if not the villain, you were always intertwined with the otherworldly aspects, like the salt of the earth people, painters and things like that. I don't know if you call painters salt of the earth. They were the ones who were always in tune with Cthulhu. Despite all that, the man knew how to write stories about fearing the unknown. He was a good writer who understood. Like, fears of things that are greater than you, and he introduced so much into the writing landscape because of that. So it's not oh, he did this but that. No, it's more like he did this and he did that. There we go. So I'm just kind of carving. I'm just poking holes here to really carve into this. And then we could just use our finger to, like, smooth this out. Once again, our base is literally just a little bit of wire, aluminum wire, and soft foam. So there's a bit of a wiggle here. It's kind of like shaking around on us. They're pretty good, actually. For as short as they are, it feels like you've read an entire novel. Yeah, I hear, like, I never realized they were mostly, like, short stories. Isn't that amazing? Like, some of the most iconic, like, horror movies are just based on freaking short films. I mean, short stories, that is. I like this. It is asymmetrical. Like, this foot is obviously much thicker. This one has, like, this is like the real angle I was kind of going for, that exaggerated angle. But if I put a few more wrinkles in this, it gives you the idea as to why it's so thick. It's just like building up. Okay. Yeah, Edgar Allan Poe, kidding me? Got the hiccups. You kidding me, man? Like, once again, like, I live not too far from a particular particular landmark regarding Edgar Allan Poe. I don't want to say the exact landmark because, you know, it's the internet. People are weird. I don't want to give away my address and shit. Excuse my language. But with that being said, I never really thought about him that much. And, like, my first, like, real introduction to Edgar Allan Poe was, like, in the Simpson episode, Quote the Raven, where, like, Bart is the Raven. And it's meant for comedy, of course. You know, the Raven's meant to be like an aspect of horror, but in this is more like he's annoying Homer. To finally, Homer flips and starts chasing Bart around the house. There we go. The real trick is to sculpt and make sure you catch it on camera. Well, also try not to screw up the sculpt. You know how many times I've sculpted something, then like my hand grips it from a weird spot and I end up like squishing something I just sculpted. Oh. The struggle is real. Gonna hold on to those the little tush. The tush is my grip. That's what I can hold on to. Oh, there's a piece of foam inside my clay. There we go. All right. Now we do it by hand. It's also that really annoying aspect. When you're working around an object, you put a thin layer, and unless you really roll it around the object as you work it, it begins to like lift. It's like having a larger object around a small one, it begins to move around like that. That looks good. It looked good. I just, ooh. You saw that? Watch. Like the knee. Like this isn't really attached to this. There you go. When it hardens, like all of this will be solid. But as of right now, it had a bit of a wiggle to it, so I'm gonna be careful when sculpting around that. I'm really happy with this so far. Like, I'm happy with, like, the wrinkles. around the shin. Happy with the overlap from the top to the bottom. This, by the way, is a piece of junk foam from a project that didn't work out, which is why you hold on to everything, people. Okay, I think that's good. So, let's get a little clay in the crotch. Stick it right up there. Right up there. And then, see, I don't know how far. Like, I don't know if the legs are going to be, like, way in there, or if you're going to see its waistline. But I do want to at least sculpt this. That way I have the option to move it. I'm not hitting the mic. I'm hitting this like homemade freaking pop screen I have, which is just like a V shape of plastic with it's just this for stocking on it. I don't know if I even need it. It's not like I go against the mic and go like, "Hello everyone, welcome. This is the Sunday night SMR stream." I don't do that stuff. I don't do that, but I have a pop screen anyway. So I'm just spreading this out. And yes, we are getting it in the cheeks. Why not? Get it all up in them cheeks. Look at that. Okay, good. And the last, damn. The last of this should be enough, hopefully, to like do this and add a platform. I might actually want to flatten the top right across, because I might add a plastic kind of piece of platform that would then be glued onto this square base here. Just glue it right on top. I'm still thinking about how to really secure this together. We're gonna grow some happy trees. We're gonna paint some happy holes. Bob Ross the pimp. Or would it be like Bob the Pimp Ross? There you go. Somewhere on the internet, there's a picture of Bob Ross, or someone's photo edited it with like a big, like purple wide rim hat and gold chain and some nonsense like that. Looking like that pimp from freaking carrying that pimp energy from well, pretty much from anything if you think about it. Like the first thing that comes to mind is like the RoboCop movie. I think was it the third one? Freaking pimp pulls a knife on RoboCop. It's like, dude, where have you been? It's like a criminal in New. It's like a criminal moving to like Metropolis and being like, "Oh, you guys got a superhero here." Right? It's like, yes, we have a superhero here. Did you not know about him? That always got to me, man. Like, I get the idea that the RoboCop movies are meant to be like how the cities have gone, how Detroit, future fictional Detroit has gotten so bad that even like a freaking RoboCop cyborg man isn't able to completely squish it. But by the third film, you would think a pimp would know not to pull a knife on RoboCop. Oh no! Later on, you'll let me know exactly what what you were thinking of typing up. All right, just mixing the last of this right now. Okay. Um. So do we do an overlap, kind of like we did with this? Because then it looks like he's wearing like weird pants. All right, let's see. Let's see how it looks. First, let's actually cover this material. Let's cover up all of the brown first, and then we'll decide whether or not we're going to do a heavy overlap. Sorry, I'm blocking the camera. But basically, I'm holding it here, pulling this up. That way, I don't squish the whole thing. Like, I don't want the frame to give out as I push hard on this. I don't need that much. Okay. It's free Frogut. But the Frogut is also cursed. I forget the entire skit. It's a Simpsons skit. It's the one of the older Treehouse of Horrors, where like Homer buys like the cursed Curse of the Clown doll, and the old man's like, it comes with free Frogut. Ooh, the Frogut is also cursed. Can I go now? Okay, so we're doing the little rim. Yeah, it looks like he's wearing pants. That's fine. In fact, you know what? Let me take a hint from this where it's like not as like symmetrical and do the same thing here. Yes, he is getting a tush. We're giving him a tush. I want to go too egregious. Some of the browns already showing. It needs to be covered. Everything needs to be covered for it to like solidify. It needs to be like a shell, like a peanut. It needs to be a shell all around us. Yeah, I scraped off too much of his tush. There was some brown clay showing. I like it. I think we got it. Now it's gonna need some sanding because, you know, once again, all the freaking fingerprint lines. Got a small bit of sculpt here, but I don't want to put it on top of this because I might need to bend that later on. Too many squats. Once again, a little bit of a wiggle, so I'm trying to position it. I guess right there is good. Yeah. I like that. It looks nice so far. Let me take this and I want to work out at least the back of his hand. He's gonna have 3 fingers. I just kind of sculpted like this for the meantime. But I just wanna. There you go. Like put like a bit of an indent there, kind of hinting. Should be like 1. No wait. There's a knuckle. Knuckle there. No, I did it wrong. There we go. Just kind of line up where I want the knuckles to be. So 1, 2, 3. Even though I only gave him 2 right now, he's gonna have a 3rd one in the middle. Probably use some wire. and cram in some pieces just to like give me a frame to work on. So this is a dried up piece. There it is. We're gonna cut some strips off of this. This was a piece that fell to the floor. I didn't even know it was there. And it dried out. So 1, 2. 3. So we got miscellaneous pieces of foam here. And these are going to help us with the fingers. Because I know if I just stick a wire in there and I try to sculpt foam around, sculpt the clay around it, it's going to like just peel right off the foam. Peel off the wire. I keep saying it incorrectly. If I put wire in there and try to sculpt on the wire, it's just gonna peel off. That's why some people use like aluminum on top of their sculpting. So it'll be something along the lines of like that. Like that. I don't want to give him gigantic hands. That's the issue when I sculpt. Sometimes I'll do like, the sizing goes off because it's easier to sculpt big hands than you realize the hands are huge compared to the rest of your sculpture. You think I should give him just 2 fingers? Oh, technically like 3, like the Ninja Turtle hands. I was thinking of giving him 4 finger like that. What do you think? No, I'm thinking the standard cartoon 1, 2, 3 fingers and a thumb as opposed to 2 fingers and a thumb. Get on the fence about it. Just gonna do a little bit of a semi-carving. Come on. There's a spot. I have to take it off camera for a second. There's a spot here that's really bothering me. I want to fix it. It was like right here. So you have I don't know how well you can see it, but you have like these 2 wrinkle lines that then converge right here, and it was just, I don't know, I just didn't like the way it looked. Okay. The present look. You mean like little stubby hands? Like little things like this? Like just keeping these little almost hoof-like fingers? I don't know. I feel he has more expression when he has like actual fingers. Think of Mike Wazowski. Like I just feel like he has more expression. And he also gets into more trouble. He could grab things and throw them around the house. Let's see. It is 8:40, about 8:42 right now. Uh, we could go for another 15 minutes and try and do a bit more on. You know what? Yeah. Let's at least get like the arms are a bit easier. Let's at least go up the arm a little bit. See if we could pull off the hand. The actual hands will be saved for later on. Let's get an arm done if we can. Get ourselves a nice big. You know what? I think that's what I should ask my mom for Christmas. Or my sister, actually. I already told my mom what I want. I should ask my sister, hey, get me like another batch of this. And get me the matching foam that goes with it. That's what I said, 9:42. Did I say something? Did I say it differently? I've been doing that lately. Like, people have been asking me what time it is, and I've been saying, like, weird numbers lately. I don't know what's going on with me. Time is an illusion. Alright, so we got... Yeah, those two are good. Come on. I'm so happy I finally got this freaking spoon. It's like a pretty hard, you know, heavy duty spoon too. So it won't bend as I'm ripping clay out of plastic bags. I'm so happy. Remember what they say. Even a broken clock is right twice a day. Where the hell's my rag? Oh, I just dropped you. Where'd you go? Ah! That was my knee. Woohoo! Stay. There we go. You smart ass. I actually want to get one of those like old clocks, but it has a little flipping numbers on it. Like the numbers are on plastic, so it flips as it counts down. I want to get a clock that has that. My stream seems to be having trouble on Picardo. Yeah, every time I check it, there it goes. Every time I check it, at least on my end, it seems to be getting stuck. Okay, Nightmare Before Christmas. A Christmas movie or a Halloween movie? As in, when do you feel it's more appropriate to watch it? You can only choose one. Fun fact: I have a Christmas ornament, and it is Locke. Is it Jacques? It's not Locke, Stock, and Barrel. His name is Jacques, so it's Locke, Jacques, and Barrel. And I have a Christmas ornament of them in the in the bathtub. And when you click it, they sing the Kidnapping Santa Claus song. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Well, obviously Christmas or Halloween, but which one do you think is more appropriate? Like, if you had to choose one, when would you watch the film? When is it more appropriate to watch that film? Good man. Good man. Let me see. So you chose Halloween. Halloween for Nightmare Before Christmas. But Gremlins is definitely a Christmas movie, obviously. But Gremlins, yeah. Okay, once again, we're doing it in segments. So there's your elbow. I think the elbow and the forearm will be like all one piece, and then we'll have the bicep be the droopy overlapping spot. And once we do the hand, we'll then do another drooping wrist. Um, so the hand comes later. Then we'll do a drooping spot over that. Where is my... There you are. And clank. Okay, I don't want this. So I bought this. People use this for wire work. I bought it at a craft store using for painting miniatures. I don't even use magnifying glass that much. I just use it for like gripping stuff at the moment. It's like a robot. Christmas isn't Christmas until you've seen Hans Gruber, yes, and Miss Hans Gruber and Mrs. Deagle dropped out of a window. Mrs. Deagle dropped out of a window. It's not. It's like the drop. You know what? It's like the dropping of the ball for New Year's. It's not Christmas until Hans Gruber falls in slow motion. God bless that actor. Oh my goodness. Wasn't that his first like actual film? Like he was like a theater individual. Like he was a trained theater actor, but that was his first like film role, correct? I know he had never used any kind of prop gun before, so so apparently every time he shot, he would flinch because he couldn't handle using guns. Like he plays an intimidating character, but he's like terrified of guns, which is why in the film you never actually see him shoot a gun. Okay, let's get this bicep done, and then we could probably call it a night. You know, I've never seen. Speaking of movies, I've never seen Die Hard 2. I've seen Die Hard 1 a number of times. I've seen Die Hard 3 a number of times, and I like both of them. I've never seen Die Hard 2. I saw the fourth one they did, and I think they did a fifth one. I think the fourth one, everyone said was weak, and it was kind of weak. They tried to go too big with it. Like, it should be just about him struggling, but they made it kind of too big. It's like a scene where he fights a jet. I think I forget, and I know the fourth one, like no one. I mean, the fifth one, no one liked apparently. There is a funny scene in the fourth one where he like straight up beats a woman. Like she's a villain, like she's a deadly villainous assassin, and he like decks her. And everyone's reaction in the theater was mirrored by the sidekick in the movie, and the sidekick is just covering his face, going, "Oh my god!" In your opinion, if you had to rank the first three, of course, there's the first one. You can't go wrong with the first one. But number two and three, which one do you think is better, or at least more entertaining? Which one's more entertaining for you? Because you got that great scene where he calls out Samuel Jackson for being a racist. He's like, "You don't like me because I'm white." And in truth, it's Samuel Jackson's instructions to his kids to never listen to the cops that almost gets them killed. He's like, if the cops say something, don't listen to them. And that's why the kids sneak back into the school when the cops get them out of the school because of the bomb scare. Let's see, and the answer is the second one. And it's just a bunch of Christmas. Yeah, yeah. I know the second one takes place in winter. I know there's like, you know, You have the returning side character of the cop. Um, I know that. I know it's in the winter time. It is more of a winter film. I'll give you that much. I know that. I know that much. But it's something about Samuel Jackson and him being like aggressive buddies, which is just so much fun. And there's what always gets me is the scene where they have to figure out the water jug puzzle. But they kind of like, because I think it's montaged, it's kind of split between another scene. Like it shows them arguing, then it shows someone else, and it shows them arguing. You never really figure out how they figure it out, which always bothered me. Like, yes, I know you could probably look it up online. This is how you figure out the water jug scene, but you never see them really figure it out. It's just they scream at each other, and then they're like, "Yeah, I got it," and then that's it. Yeah. Pretty smooth right now. Nothing too detailed in the hand. The hand is pretty much just like a tube. It's a series of tubes. Who said that? Who was the guy that was famous for like describing the internet as a series of tubes? Always love that expression. If I had a nickel for every time it happened, I would have 2 nickels. It's not a lot, but it's strange that it happened twice. Okay, let's get that. Let's get this wrinkle. Let's get this little spot right here, and that should do us for the arm for tonight. Where am I? Yeah, you see that? You see what just popped up? I think that there was. I think the last stream I did, there was some bots in the stream, and that's what they do. They would just type in that text, and I had no. It was just random bits of text exactly like that. I thought it was a person talking to me at first because they mentioned volume. They were like something volume, and I thought the volume was off. But then I realized it was just some jerk, some jerk messing with the intern. Got a super white on my fingers so I don't stick to everything. Yeah, I know they're like I said, people tend to wear gloves when they do this, and I'm like, I can't do that. Unless the gloves are like super, super tight, like. Just, I don't know. I do like the fact that in the third movie, it's realized that the guy's brother is just like him. It's just about the money. You know, it was you know, it is a repeat of the last film, but you realize it kind of runs in the family. And he even says that. He says, I know the family. I know it's about the money, and it's not about helping anyone. You know, they're not trying to save their fellow soldiers. It's just about the money. And McClane knows that, which I think they call it out in the film, which is cool. There we go. Got a little fold for the elbow. We'll do a shoulder overlap. Once it's all dries, we'll do a nice shoulder overlap. I need to hold it somehow, and I can't right now. But before it does fully dry, let me do some random wrinkles now in the forearm. Just give it a bit more detail. Yeah, like that. I don't know if you see it on the camera, but it kind of like the forearm isn't just one smooth cylinder. It needs to have like a little bit of a shape to it. Not even muscular, just bizarre shape. Let me smooth out the wrist as much as possible right now, because we are going to add another ridge to it later on once it all dries. This, look at the legs one more time. Yeah, there's tons of like there's tons of fingerprint lines all over the freaking legs. And that's what happens when I sculpt on wide areas. But I could just take a nice sandpaper and smooth out a lot of it, keep some of it if I wanted to. Like, I'm going to do another pass on this just to really work all those little details in. But yes, the arms are a bit long. Like, the arms are long, which I'm okay with. Little stubby legs and long arms that kind of hang downward. Because when it's attached to the bottle, the arms are going to be set high. So it's kind of like the head is in the center, the arms are set high like this. But with that being said, I think we're good. I think we're good for tonight, guys. Clean my tools real quick. Gotta also get a really nice hard scrubbing sponge and clean my hands. Yeah, I think that's it. It is 10:03. We have one leg. We have the legs practically all done, aside from a little bit of finer details. One arm practically done, except for the hand, and then we'll do the other arm as well. So this arm is gonna have a clenched fist. This arm is just gonna have like a hand that's just kind of casually open. We'll debate on how many fingers later on, and then we shall paint it all and also attach it to said bottle. I want to give a big shout out to once again, I think it's Woozo Jinak. Woozo Jinak. That's WOOZOJINAK. Woozo Jinak. For jumping in. Sorry that you didn't see me drawing for today. Their request was, can I see the drawing or can I see the draw? So unless they meant the actual draw I'm sitting on top of, I'm guessing they wanted to see the drawings of this. It was just this. And of course, dude, as always, Joseph, thank you for dropping by, man. This, along with all my other art streams, are up on YouTube. All past art streams are on YouTube. Same thing with any of my interns' gaming streams. He is slowly developing a library of streaming. Once again, old files on YouTube. So now, with all of that being said, once again, guys, I am Dante. Like, favorite, share, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And I'll see you in the future. Later.